We were going out to replace crews, and we were going to Angaur Island in the Palaus, which was 400 miles north of the equator, so you know how hot that was. We just flew an airplane over there, and we were going to the 494th Bomb Group, and we were replacing many pilots who were coming home, of course, leaving their airplanes there and flying home by military air transport. But we were bringing airplanes out there, and so I guess they were doing us like they did the other guys. When they arrived with the airplanes, they were saying, "Glad to see you, we want your airplane," taking it away from them, and giving us theirs to fly. But it happened to be an old one we got instead of a new one, Angaur Island, and ended up there. Home sweet home, a little island about, I suppose 5 miles long, maybe 10, 5 miles across. Runway was practically half the island. The officers had a beach spot to live in, and the enlisted men were close by, but we had the beach. We were upper class. And our beach was great because we had a little atoll. In an atoll, you could go out, and the water was certain times of day would be about 3 feet deep. And you could walk out in this water, or you could lay down and paddle along and just kind of float. We had snorkels, and we had masks that we had our folks send out to us so that, you could see in the water. Because the biggest excitement there was collecting shells and making necklaces for our girlfriends at home. And all the stainless steel wire that was used, instead of being used for tightening down bolts on engines, were being used to make necklaces. And I guess the War Department wondered how in the world we could be safetying so many bolts down out there. Stainless steel wire, of course, won't rust, and so it's very nice stuff to make jewelry out of these little shells. The little shells were about a half-inch, and then they would have a little fish inside of them, of course, when we get them. We go out there with our can and just dig them up off the floor around the coral and stuff. And you get out there without clogs on. We call them clogs. They were kind of a foam rubber thing with a jap thing in the middle. So you stick it between your big toe, and that would stay on, and you could walk around out there. You come back. Otherwise, you come back with shredded feet. Otherwise, if it was deep enough, you could just float along, and you come up with your knees scuffed, but you wouldn't get your feet scuffed because you could float. Remember one time I was floating out there, and I got way out there because I wanted to get some new shells, and some of those shells were up to 1.5 inches across, when they're really big brown beauties. And those big brown beauties, of course, were speckled and everything, and were really nice. And those were hard to come by, so I had to go way out for those. So I got out to the very edge there, and it drops off this atoll, and it's like a shelf, and the ocean comes up and bangs against that, and then it's sort of like a little breakers made there, and it sort of slows down the wave action. I got out there, and I looked down, and I could see way down there because I had on these glasses, face mask, and I could see this huge shark swimming back and forth way down there. And boy, I just turned right around and very effectively paddled back to shore. We were kind of told to look out for sharks and that sort of thing, so we had to kind of keep our eyes open. I collected these things, and then I'd get them, and we'd take them and put them in a can and poke holes in the can, and we'd just set them by the base of a palm tree. And we'd take these cans and we'd park them at the base of the tree because we had to have a place where we find them in the sand, and you don't want to just stick them out in the open because they start smelling nasty and fishy and rotten and whatever. What happens is the ants find it, and they go in there and systematically eat everything left. Clean those little shells as clean as a hound's tooth. And so you don't have to do any work. Otherwise, sometimes we could boil them out, and get them dead quicker and all that. But most of the time, we just let them sit there a couple of weeks, and we weren't going anywhere anyway. And we keep a bunch in process while we were working with the rest. And what you did is you took a pair of long-nosed pliers, and you make a loop of the stainless steel wire, and then you bend the wire down inside this little slit like in the shell. And then you would take cotton and poke in along behind the wire until it was tight, and then make a loop at the other end of the fish shell so that there was a loop on both ends. And then you would take airplane glue and glue the cotton so that it couldn't come out. Yeah. Well, that was what our spare time was around when we were wasting a lot of time waiting for shifts to go fly.